Hey, this is Keith, the Common Sense Practical Prepper podcast, and this isn't quite your 1-minute survival tip for February the 8th, 2025. Well, if you've been keeping up with current events, you're familiar with Elon Musk and the Doge team going through the books for USAID and the amount of corruption, fraud, money laundering that they have uncovered is absolutely horrifying. I used to watch House of Cards. That was 3 or 4 seasons it was on, and before it got canceled, whole different story with Kevin Spacey, but I digress. I always told myself if Washington, D.C. was half as corrupt as they portrayed, in the fictional series House of Cards, we were screwed. Well, I'm a firm believer now that House of Cards is 1/100th as corrupt as what we're seeing with some of the information being released out of the USAID. And I guess what really jerks my chain the most is, and I get a lot of this information again from multiple sources, I'm preaching to the choir here, but Mike Benz, B-E-N-Z, he's a former CIA employee, and he is all over X and other social media accounts, and Tucker Carlson, he sat down with Tucker Carlson a few days ago and did a deep dive into USAID, and I cannot bring myself to watch it because I get angry enough just reading some of the posts on X and some of the other websites I go to see how corrupt it is. The 80-some million going to Chelsea Clinton and her wedding and all this stuff. And I know I'm not that naive to think that there's some tax dollars going places where I wouldn't necessarily want them to go. But if you listen to Mike Benz and some of the other people that are talking about this, our tax dollars for years have just been wasted. But to even a more diabolical extent, our tax dollars are being sent to different countries, given to different organizations to sow the seeds of discontent in hopes that it would topple the government, someone politically opposed to the ideas of the United States, a regime change, whatever you want to call it. So there's a lot of dirty dealing going on in other countries. Now, our tax dollars have been doing the same with us. You talk about the summer of love, 2020, different riots, different group being given money to protest, do this sort of thing. And it's really funny that there is a certain political party that is super upset that Elon Musk and his team are running across all this corruption. It's really funny that it's only Democrats that are saying, currently only Democrats, that want him to stop trying to sue him. A couple judges have stepped in and levied injunctions. I'm not really sure how a judge has any sway over an executive order and what the president can or cannot ask teams of his employees to audit. But to be fair, the deeper they go, the deeper the corruption goes. They're going to run into some Republican issues as well. And I think that's where it's going to get really sticky. They're going to keep on diving in, and it's not going to be just Democrats. It's going to be Republicans that are going to be going to walk away with egg on their face. So we have a situation where for years I have prepped, not for this collapse of society, not for the zombie apocalypse, but mostly as a hedge on inflection too, but mostly inflation. But to think that my tax dollars and your tax dollars are going to groups and media outlets and social media outlets to purposely sow the seeds of discontent to make this country more divided than we already are is absolutely grotesque, horrific. Throw a couple other adjectives in there. It is absolutely insane to think that whatever the dollar or two of my taxes over the past few years were given to people who purposely went online and either had bots make all these posts and to try to gin up anger and discontent with the status quo, to make me angry with my neighbor, and to make my angry neighbor angrier with the neighbor down the street, black, white, male, female, whatever you want to call it. It is absolutely insane. I am absolutely livid that my tax dollars, let's take my tax dollars out of it, that my government is going behind my back and behind the government's back. A lot of people may not be aware of this within the current administration or even previous administrations, that we have people in very dark recesses of the government purposely trying to gin up discontent that could lead to violence, potentially civil war, or at least clashes in the streets that we've seen for several years. It's really very disturbing. So, in a sense, I've been prepping for something that my own tax dollars is trying to perpetuate. So it's kind of like I've been giving my money to USAID and other entities, I'm sure, that are putting things out there, I guess, adjusting things or putting pressure on the economy to make prices go higher, to cause inflation. So my tax dollars are making things worse. And in return, I see an economy that's not doing very well. And so then I go out and spend more money to prepare in the event that inflation goes higher or whatever it happens to be at the time. It's something it's crazy. And it's very difficult for me to get my head around, but I don't know. That's my rant. Please leave comments, practicalpreppodcast@gmail.com if you want to drop me an email. But I mean, I've been losing sleep about this for the last couple of weeks, and I'm not sure when it's going to end. Thanks.